Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I hope that this is something that's valuable to all of you, and that's what my goal will be today. Susan has already indicated that I've been in the IT industry since the late 70s. I've seen a lot of change over the last 30-plus years, but more importantly, I have seen a lot that hasn't changed. I'm sure many of you will agree that we're still an industry that's not managing our projects or people as well as we can. In fact, maybe not even better than we were in 1969 when NATO reported on software engineering, actually used the term for the first time, and they documented our problems and requirements, design, coding, estimating, monitoring progress, and communications. We're still an industry where the variation in individual performance is 26-to-1 and team performance is 6-to-1. And reliability, those bugs and defects are still a source of, let's call them, credibility challenges with our customers. Tom DeMarco, who wrote a great book called Controlling Software Projects, noted, so many software projects fail in some major way that we've had to redefine success to keep everyone from becoming despondent. Well, this seminar today is going to focus on some of the metrics that are used in IT, and more importantly, some of the metrics that should be used in IT to avoid them in the future. I'm going to cover 5 major areas. So at the end of this, you're going to have the ability to understand what, quote, good metrics look like, understand what really the only IT metrics that really matter are. We'll have a session which we'll call both kinds of IT metrics, how to measure what matters, and finally, and maybe most importantly, how to think about what to measure and how to explain it to other people, particularly your management team. The first area, part 1, is what are the characteristics of effective metrics? Bob Lewis, in an InfoWord article back in December of 2011, basically came up with 5 C's for effective metrics. The number 1 thing is it has to be connected to important goals. Many of you are probably familiar with Vic Basili's goal, question, metric approach. If not, that is absolutely something to look into because it gives you a great way of connecting the goals to questions to metrics so that not only will you have meaningful numbers, but you'll be able to explain to both your staff and your management why you're measuring what you're measuring. The second C is complete. Many people have metrics that don't really cover all of the aspects of the work so that they're actually measuring things that aren't going to help them monitor or predict success in the future. All of the factors that are important to achieving the goal must be included in effective metrics. The third C is current, so that they reflect current goals. More than once I've wandered through the offices of computer-aided clients over the last couple of decades and saw metrics charts on walls that were months old and often were tied to goals that were part of the last program. There's almost nothing that is more depressing to the staff than seeing numbers on the wall that aren't related to what's currently going on. Which gets to the fourth point. Metrics must be communicated to the people that they're collected from so that they can drive the kinds of behaviors that we're collecting the metrics for in the first place. I've seen, again, over the years, metrics collected by managers and not shared with the staff so that the staff has no idea when new programs or new practices are introduced, why they're being introduced. And finally, they have to be calibrated so that the values are comparable across organizations and over time. Another term for calibrated is normalized, but we'll talk about that in a second. So what are the metrics that matter for managing an IT? Really, there's 5, and 9 essential IT metrics. And these are the measures that, if they're not in your hands, you're not doing the basics. These aren't the crucial ones for actually making things successful. These are the ones that you better have the answer to when your boss asks for the situation in IT. The first one, of course, is the alignment of IT investments to business strategy. This gets back to the slide before. That you must be able to tie the metrics that you're collecting to specific business problems or business strategies or business challenges. The second one is to be able to show the cumulative business value of IT investments. Everybody knows the spend in IT, but very few people actually are able to relate back the value that's been created based upon that spend, in the sense of the ROI of IT. Another metric that is enormously important and becoming more so all the time is the IT spend ratio between development and maintenance. I've had many customers, particularly over the last 2 years as they've taken a real hard look at their legacy portfolios, insisting that IT executives drive more and more of the spend percentage into the development world, when the maintenance world in many of their situations are hard to reduce. So that's a number that has to be tracked, even though in many, many cases it's not going to be a very positive number. The fourth area is critical business services. This gets to be, are we doing what we need to do to keep the lights on and keep the customers happy? This is measuring customer sat and tracking service level performance. Those are two different numbers, by the way. Customer satisfaction is more about how people feel about the IT services, and service level performance is more of a quantitative evaluation of, are we meeting explicit goals we've set with the business? And the final area, the fifth area, is operational health. And this basically gets down to, have we been available for our customers in terms of outages? How many security incidents have we had? What is the success rate of our projects, and what is the average defect rate? If these 9 areas, 5 major groups, but 9 areas, you have numbers on, you're going to be in very, very good shape in being able to communicate with your management as well as the lines of business you support in terms of knowing what's going on. That's not doing the job. Knowing what's going on is not the objective. But if you don't seem like you know what's going on, you're never going to get to the next part, which is the ability to make things happen in the future better. So let's talk about what are the generically relevant metrics. Well, obviously the first kind are the tracking of progress, and the second one is managing the risk. These are the 2 areas where metrics have to be collected, and we've spoke mostly about the tracking progress ones so far. How much work are we doing? What's the quality, or the inverse of that, what's the defect level of what we're doing, and how much are we spending? These should be the easier data to collect. You're probably already collecting them now. But managing risk is really where the action is, and really it's the whole point of this presentation today. It's not so much about looking backwards at what happened, so much as it is looking forward to what will happen if you don't do some managing. There's 3 major areas we're going to talk about. One is expectations management. The second one is the involvement of the sponsors and senior management. And the third one is process compliance. These 3 areas to monitor and measure are the 3 primary drivers for what causes rework, or the probability of rework in our organizations. Many researchers have calculated the cost of rework in organizations, not the least of which is research from IBM, where they note that on average, which means it's not the best case, on average, about 40% of total project costs are the cost of waste, or the cost of doing things over. IBM estimates that about 85% of that is due to bad requirements management. But this is the leading reason, rework that is, the leading reason for projects to run over budget and beyond schedule. And implicit in that is also the leading reason why your credibility as an IT manager is not where it should be. This isn't just the opinion of Computerade. This is based upon, as I mentioned, a lot of research. The 3 particular individuals you see here have provided some pretty seminal research into what causes project failure and what needs to be done about it. Dr. Kappelman from the University of North Texas has a brilliant article called The 4 Horsemen of IT Project Doom, where he breaks it into people and process areas. It's something that you can Google and take a long look at it. It's very easy to read, and the sort of thing you can share with management to get programs for metrics going if you don't already have one. Mary Subner's article on risk factors in ERP projects is particularly interesting because it is focused on the implementation of enterprise resource planning projects, which, as many of you probably have experienced, are kind of unique beasts in themselves. But probably